aren't there. Maybe we don't go there. We don't know yet. A lot of people speculate there will be, and that's really the national priority. That is the super fund that everybody thinks about, where the Benita Key super fund. We haven't gone there yet. You have natural resource damages that will come following that. That's another type of litigation that we will be in. I'm talking about we as the collective we, because we have the government involved, we have private citizens involved, we have land management agencies involved. And then we have the AOCs. And earlier, Jason was talking about the AOCs and how they are doing those outside the super fund, and that's $10,000 legal costs. And I can tell you there's some people, for those who weren't in the room that time, they wish they only had $10,000 in legal costs. There is a project that's been worked on inside the county that was probably $250,000 has been spent on it inside the super fund, and only $50,000 approximately is going on. So it's important for you to understand that when Jason talks about what earlier, when he was talking about how those approaches work, because there, that's a different cost than what it costs for people to work through these issues after you become super fund. And with that, there's a question I'm happy to answer, but I just want to set everybody up. We're talking about real money here, to both private individuals as well as government agencies, land management agencies who are potential responsible parties, and then the EPA working through that administrative issue. So,
here we go. So I think the key point in this slide, and we talked about this before, super fund is no longer a fund, okay? Even though it started that way, okay? It was based on a petrochemical tax that expired in 1995. And it generated quite a bit of money, $12.7 billion, which was used for site remediation. But the fund has really been exhausted since the early 2000s. And now this funding relies on what I still consider is uncertain congressional appropriations. And the last 5 years or so, it's been pretty consistently about $1 billion. Okay, that's a lot, but when you start looking at the cleanup for some of these mining sites, the estimated cost for the Cuesta mine site in New Mexico is about $1 billion. With that in mind, and considering there's 1,350 Superfund sites in the country, and probably more to be added at some point. And the problem is going to be, we could be doing this maybe not even for decades, but for centuries. Now, Superfund itself really came about because of Love Canal and the Valley of the Drums, okay? And that suggests to me that it really wasn't designed for mining sites, complex historic mining sites. We've heard, and we heard from Stephen today, basically the Bonita Peak Mining District is one of EPA's priorities, and they're trying some new things here. Adaptive management, which is darn innovative, and we appreciate that. But again, administrations change, priorities change, and again, as other sites rise to the surface, we don't always know that the money will be there. So again, Superfund was really not designed for mining sites. Again, it was urban sites, Love Canal, okay, where it comes from. And we've already talked a bunch about Good Samaritan legislation, and John will be talking about it in a minute. There's some other statutes out there that have been used for mining cleanups. And the one I'm most familiar with is the Federal Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act. Because when I worked for BHP, you know, that was a tax on coal products. And in essence, basically, the tax is based upon 28 cents a ton for surface coal and 12 cents for underground. Now, that tax could be going away, and of course, as we're moving toward more renewable sources of energy, there's less coal mines, so that tax is declining too. But what SMACRA did was create this abandoned mine land fund. okay? And it was based on the severance tax. And it raised, over the years, about 11.3 billion, and it spent about 9 billion. And so that's actually a model that has been used in the coal mine industry. And, you know, one of the things I noticed when I started looking at some of the sites on the national priorities list, you don't see really coal sites there. And that doesn't mean there's not a problem with them. They are. It could be that they're better managed, is my speculation there. And then, of course, there's the Uranium Mill Tailings and Remediation Control Act, UMTRA. And this was actually, John knows this much better than I, because he's been involved in this. And maybe, John, could you just talk a little bit about that? Would you mind jumping in here?
I grew up in this world, the environmental decade of the 70s. We have HEPA 1969, our most famous environmental president, Richard Nixon, signed HEPA in 69, Clean Air 70, Clean Water 72. After that, then, we had the passage of SMACRA in 1978, UMTRA in 1978, RECRA in 1976. We didn't have regulations for RECRA until 1980, but the environmental decade of the 70s is where this all came from. And Paul and I grew up in that world. Stan is much younger than me, so we don't really
And Anthony's even younger than that.
But the UMTRA deals with the front end of the fuel cycle, producing uranium mills that produce the U3O8 that goes into the nuclear fuel cycle, but also deals, as SMACRA does, with the remnants of that. So we have the titles under UMTRA that dealt with the abandoned mill tailings that were actually used on the west slope in foundations for homes, etc. And they had to go in and clean those up and remove those tailings and then isolate them in other places. We now have recognition that they didn't get it all, so we're now going back to revisit that after the fact cleanup. And SMACRA and UMTRA create those, let's go fix it. We blew it before. We didn't know the concerns about mill tailings. We didn't realize that putting in foundations of homes outside concrete is going to increase the radon in the basement. So let's go deal with it now. SMACRA did the same thing. A lot of abandoned mines, let's go deal with it. Both of these federal laws, in contrast to other situations, and I'll talk a lot about that in terms of the funding for voluntary cleanup, you got billions of dollars going into those programs. We don't have it for voluntary action.
Then there's other approaches out there too, of course. And again, I spent some time for a client looking at approaches that are used in Australia and Canada. They do exist, but they're usually state or provincial level. So, and just like Montana has a mining severance tax program, and they fund some of their own cleanups too. One thing that we talked about before is that we are at the top of the watershed here. We're where everything flows down, and this is where some of the mining issues occur. And the water is used all over the place. And it could be that, and a perfect example would be up on top of Fremont Pass. There's the old Climax mine. And they have a water treatment operation there, which I was told by a person that used to work for Freeport-McMoRan, they treat 1/6 of Denver's water supply, which is substantial. That's where it comes from. And so, is there some way to actually get some fund for treating the water as far as users' fees are concerned from the downstream interests? That's just another thought. Do you want to talk about adaptive management?
Sure. I guess so adaptive management, there were 6 pilot projects around the country that the administrator for the EPA has chosen, and anybody from the EPA, feel free to weigh in if I misstate anything here. And so they're using an adaptive management approach. This came out of the Superfund task force, learning by doing, for large and complicated sites. This is a large and complicated site. Develop the site management plan, incorporating adaptive management principles based on existing goals. The EPA goals, those goals have been stated. And then the water quality improvements, stabilize source areas, minimize unplanned releases. Those are the goals. goals and site strategy and based upon existing goals. And it's an iterative process, and it's being developed for the Bonita Peak right now, and will be over the next 5 to 6 months. This has been presented as a new approach to try to facilitate the working inside the Superfund sites more efficiently and effectively. If there's anybody from the agency that wants to weigh in right now, you may. I just wanted to bring that up because there is what has been presented at least as a different approach in trying to work more efficiently at this time. And so with that, all yours.
Thank you. I'm going to take a totally different approach to this in terms of the overview you just heard about Superfund. I'm not going to talk about Superfund. I'm going to talk about a piece of the puzzle that's missing. Mr. Cook talked about the evolution of the environmental control world. It's been 50 years since we signed NEPA. We've dealt with NEPA for 50 years. We've dealt with Superfund for now 40 years. And what we've seen in the Superfund world is an evolution. What we've seen in clean air and clean water is an evolution of the law. What we've seen in record hazardous waste is an evolution of the law. And there's a big piece missing, particularly when we talk about voluntary cleanups. Good Samaritan laws are driven by something that has absolutely nothing to do with minor reclamation. Typical Good Samaritan law focuses protecting individuals from being good Sams or good Samanthas with regard to accidents. I drive that mountain road between Luray and here. I happen to see that a car has gone down in the ditch. I see that it's burning. I go down and I help the gentleman out of the burning car, save his life. But in the process, the medical doctors tell me he already had a broken back. And when you dragged him out of that valve, you really made it worse. He's now paralyzed for life. If you'd left him there and allowed the emergency technicians to get there, he might be walking today. That's the liability that the Colorado Good Samaritan law that's now in the books protects me from. I'm a volunteer. I'm trying to help somebody who's just broken their leg, broken their neck in a ski area. You're protected. I'm a physician. You land at that site in an emergency setting, I'm protected. That's what the laws typically do. An example would be the Virginia law. This is actually a reference to it. How does it work? It's under Virginia law. We go through it. These are all available online. All 50 states in the District of Columbia have Good Samaritan laws that protect individuals from that type of civil liability. One state, Pennsylvania, has it with regard to voluntary cleanups of abandoned mine sites. This is the Colorado Good Samaritan law. Persons rendering emergency assistance are exempt from civil liability. We walk through it. This law is written this way: a licensed physician, and this is the critical language for the bald guy up here. Physician, surgeon, or any other person. If this phrase weren't in here, I wouldn't touch that gentleman down there for him. Of course I would. But you don't. Probably most of you didn't realize that you're protected by this type of voluntary action. So, physicians, any other person, are not liable for civil damages for acts and omissions made in good faith unless you do it grossly negligently or willfully and wantonly. The statute goes on. Section does not apply to any person who renders emergency care or assistance to a patient he is otherwise obligated to cover. So, a question a law student asked me, it says he. You've already told us, Mr. Watson, that you're a defense trial lawyer. You're always looking for ways to get your client out from under, right? So, does this section apply to women? Laura, see, of course it does. It does. Volunteer members of a rescue unit are exempt from liability under Colorado law. Licensed physicians acting as volunteer in ski patrol, they're exempt from civil liability. Employers whose employees go help someone are exempt. So that sets the stage. If you're being a good person, trying to help out, it didn't cause the problem, or we're already responsible somehow, a good Sam or a good Samantha should not have to worry about being liable for voluntarily helping to fix the problem. And that should be the same situation in Colorado for volunteers, Good Sams to come in and help with abandoned mine sites. It's not the case. What's the problem? Wherever you have mineral development here, you'll have abandoned mines, oil wells, and operations. Wherever in the United States, you're going to have those issues. East Coast, Midwest, and out in Colorado. For some problems, there's lots and lots of money. This is just an example of the Office of Enforcement Financial Business Management System. These are data. Abandoned Mine Land Reclamation Fund from 77 to 2018, $11.2 billion as of September of last year. But not for these problems. The big one, Gold Canyon. When I met with the Colorado Department of Health yesterday to talk about the bill that I wrote, it's called the Colorado Disappearing Law of 2020, I was reminded that workers didn't accidentally spill 1 million gallons, they actually spilled 3 million gallons. Lots of arsenic developed a picture of as that's the front end of the plume. 2015. Okay, enough of pretty pictures. Here's the Colorado fact. There are 23,000 abandoned mine lands in Colorado. CPS is the source. CPS conducted abandoned mine land inventory with the U.S. Forest Service from 91 to 98. They found that approximately 18,000 individual mine features were inventoried. How many people are in this room? 120? 23,000 animals. Not throughout the country. In Colorado. Here's the focus on the law. It's critical for you to understand a couple of things too about the law. I've been practicing environmental natural resource defense law for 44 years. I graduated CSU in 72, I graduated DU Law School in 75, in the middle of the environmental decade of 70. I cut my teeth as an environmental lawyer, representing a home state mining company on the Saguache County mill facility that Home State wanted to build a pitch project on Forest Service property in Saguache County. That's 1978, 1979, and 1980. At that time, the Forest Service had developed an environmental impact statement because of those activities for that proposed mill. The EIS went final. It was challenged by the National Wildlife Federation. And Luke Danielson and I, that's where I first met him, worked on that particular activity after I successfully defended my very first oral argument as a young lawyer, was in front of the Deputy Forest Service in Washington, D.C., successfully defending the EIS on the Home State Pitch project. We came back, Luke Danielson and the National Wildlife Federation sat us down and said, listen, we're going to federal court, or we're going to work out this problem that we've got with your proposed mill in Saguache County. We've already got the open pit mine, you're in the mining clearing, you want to build a mill. Let's sit down and work it out. We successfully negotiated a resolution of those significant problems. And in fact, Luke Danielson and I wrote a law review article identifying the process. That's where I cut my teeth. For 44 years, I've been struggling with representing the home state mining companies of the world, Shell at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, Unical, many other mining companies throughout the state, but I'm a defense trial lawyer. My main objective is to get you into compliance. My first objective as a client is to say, here are the regulations, get into compliance. Then, when you make a mistake and you have a problem, I try to help you out to fix that problem. I spend 90% of my time in court or in front of administrative entities helping you resolve those permit issues or resolve those notices of violations or resolve those toxic tort lawsuits that have been filed against you by citizens living in the community. This particular focus, important for you to understand, because I'm promoting this bill for the legislature this year. We have a Senate sponsor. It's in front of the Legislative Drafting Council. I'm meeting with the Department of Health. I've met with DNR. And I'm meeting with anyone that I can talk to. Thank goodness Paul called me up and said, come talk to these people. These are the people you want to talk about. This law does not exist right now. I wrote this law. This law is written, premised on the Pennsylvania Good Samaritan law. I faced this issue 5 years ago. I represent a landowner who came to me. I've been representing him for a long time. He owns a lot of property in the state of Colorado. He came to me and said, we got problems with the watershed. What are your problems? Upstream from me, my adjacent landowner has some mine tailings. And it's sending stuff down my way. And it's sending stuff on down the creek. I said, okay. I said, I've got the wherewithal to go help solve that problem. The problem source isn't on my part. The problem source is on the neighbor. I'm going to talk to him. I said, listen, we've got to do something. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to stabilize the tailings. We're going to put a diversion ditch above the tailings so you don't have water coming down and creating those mine-influenced waters. I've got the money. I've got the equipment. I can do this. Watson, what are the legal issues? Well, super fun, 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 super fun. Okay, I've heard enough about all the good, the bad, and the ugly. You told me about super fun, Watson. What is it? What other issues have we got? If I provide the men and women the money and the equipment to go do what I've just described to you, reconfigure the tailings, ditch above to divert the water, stabilize, revegetate. Well, super fun, super fun, super fun. Okay, well, what about all of these Good Samaritan initiatives that we talked about? You told me about the 2,000 program, blah, blah, blah. Yes, so we walked through that drill. He said, well, we got it made. Get going. Go talk to the Department of Health. Go talk to Region EPA. Go talk to it. And I said, hold it. Just a minute. Have you talked to the downstream landowners? No. Why would I worry about them? I'm fixing the problem. Well, we talked about citizen suits at the Superfund level, the federal level. Well, we don't have citizen suits in the state of Colorado under record hazardous waste, et cetera. What else have we got to worry about? Have you ever heard about torts? I eat a lot of them. Not those kind of torts. Your downstream landowner, let's assume like a stop watering pond that breaches, and sediment coming down, you might be pretty upset about that. But if you're in any way isolating minerals, and you get a 1,000-year rain, you get a 1,000-year flood, and those minerals that you've stabilized, took you 5 years to plant and 3 weeks to fix, right? What are you exposed to? Well, whether you've already worked out a deal with your current landowner downstream, what if they sold that property? And I walked through nuisance, negligence, public nuisance. Well, what are you talking about? Well, that's common law. It's not statutory. Came out of English common law. Sometimes it's defined on the books. Sometimes nuisance negligence is defined in the statute. But in the normal course, we're talking about judge-made law. And yes, these landowners, no matter if you've got worked out and had a handshake deal, okay, we're going to go do this. No matter how much comfort you've given them, you're still exposing yourself. You say, okay, then I'm done. And you walked away. It took us a year to get to that walk away. It wasn't driven by the Superfund concerns. Basically, I'm the team that persuaded him. I persuaded him we were going to be able to work out a deal with EPA. We're going to be able to work out permitting issues with Department of Health. He said, I can control those people because I'm doing an AOC. I'm getting a comfort letter, something. What does the stock market like? certainty. I got certainty with them. I'll take that into a court of law if you Watson any day of the week. I can't control these people. I said, no, you can't. You walk away from it. That's the genesis of this law. First of all, now we'll dive into it. This particular law, oh, by the way, next question. That particular client is not funding the whole thing. I'm not getting paid a penny to promote this legislation. I didn't get paid a penny to write this legislation. Everything I'm doing is for free. It's important for you to understand because I am known in the state of Colorado for 44 years as a polluter's lawyer. Home Safe Mining Company, Shell at the Arsenal, Unicap. And if you say John Watson's behind this, they're going to say, okay, who's paying you? Is it Shell this time? Is it Unicap this time? Is it Home Safe Mining Company this time? No, no one is paying me. And if someone were to come to me and say, we'll help you, I will say no. I have no interest in being painted with that brush. This is a piece of the puzzle that is now missing that we need in the state of Colorado. Pennsylvania is the only state that has a law like this. With that in mind, Colorado should be number 2 on the list. First of all, the law does not trump any federal law. Clean air, clean water, record superfund, all alive and well after this bill passes. The proposed law protects provides incentives and attempts to remove roadblocks to encourage and allow good Sams to deal with others to reclaim abandoned lands. The proposed legislation is based on the Pennsylvania statute. That one's been around for 20 years. Here's a link to it. Brief outline of the Colorado proposal. How many timelines? You're good. I'm good. Act's purpose: protect landowners, groups, and individuals who volunteer for projects protects them from civil and environmental liability at the state level. Doesn't have any impact on Superfund, doesn't have any impact on any federal law at the state level. It protects against those tort lawsuits for nuisance and negligence by adjacent landowners downstream owners. Laws intended to encourage landowners and others to move forward. You know, if this happened to me in a court of law, a judge would put me in jail. Okay. I can make the bill available to you. This is one of the issues. The Colorado Department of Public Health and the Department of Natural Resources would review project proposals and will administer and review project proposals to determine project eligibility. In other words, they do the same type of thing as now goes on in the Voluntary Cleanup Act. You go into an area, into the department and say, listen, we want to do a decap operation. You submit a plan, and they look over your shoulder while you implement it. One of the issues is, as I met with the Department of Health yesterday, do we want to be the lead agency, Department of Health, in accepting this proposal and improvement for the law, or maybe just DNR? That's something we're going to have to work out. Who's eligible? Any landowner who provides access without charging compensation, charging rate compensation, water, additionally, any person, corporation, nonprofit organization, government entity that participates is eligible for protection if they provide equipment, materials, and services. No problem. Did not cause or create the problem. We're not ordered by government to fix it. We're not, in other words, you're not a PRP. You're not on the receiving end of those crosshairs by EPA or the state. I'm not performing the work under a contract for problem project, good project, no, not covered. And you're not the surety that you should have bond for. You're not covered. Otherwise, you're eligible. What types of land reclamation projects are covered? Restore mineral extraction lands, includes areas where the mine operator has stored bonds on the site, typical conditions such as not limited to abandoned mine pits, underground mine entrance, refuge pipe, and unplugged oil and gas wells. This is one of the other issues. I'll be meeting with the Colorado Oil and Gas Association to determine the extent to which they want to be part of this deal. Some preliminary discussions said, well, we're not sure. Everyone I've talked to, the governor's office, the Department of Health, Department of Natural Resources, to the Colorado Mining Association, it says, we don't want you to represent that we're on board for any of this, John. We want to hear about it. Let's vet it, let's discuss it, let's collaborate and fix it if there are problems. One of the issues is, does the oil and gas industry want to be part of it? The Pennsylvania law covers abandoned oil and gas wells. Should this bill? I don't know. Abandoned structures, state agencies must approve each project, determine the project would not cause water pollution. What types of water pollution projects are covered? Any abatement project that treats or stops water pollution caused by abandoned mines or oil and gas wells. Project proposals must be capable of improving water quality. What protections are provided to landowners? Landowners provide access, not responsible for injury or damage to the person who is restoring the land or treating the pollution while the person is on the project area. So, protects them from people working on the project. You break a leg, you get hurt, you're not going to be hurt, landowner. Without this type of protection, a landowner isn't going to let you anywhere near their facility. They're protected from injury or damage to a person that is caused by the people restoring the land. Protected from injury or damage to a person as a result of the project. That's where we talk about the downstream water. We got that flood and it moved more tailings down. Well, you worked on it, then you want it to be protected from it. Any pollution may be caused by the project, or the operation, maintenance, or repair of the water pollution equipment, etc. You know, this could turn into like a Macarena.
Hey, John. Why don't you just point at me and all events?
Okay. Are there exceptions to protections for the landowners? Yes. Landowners are not protected if the project damages adjacent or downstream landowners, and those individuals have not received a written public notice of the proposed project. That notice is given while the agencies are reviewing the project. So what's the deal there? My situation. I want to go up and fix this above me. I'm worried about guys down below. I come and talk to you and I say, listen, here's notice of what we're going to go do. I give you notice, comprehensive notice. You have the ability to come and collaborate, be a part of the stakeholder process for the review of what we're doing. Landowner protection. I give you notice. You don't give them the notice, and of course, by regulation, the agency will have to develop the notice. You don't give them the notice, you're not protected. In addition, landowner is not protected under the act if the project damages adjacent. Okay, one more. Okay, what protections available to individuals who participate? Watson goes out and volunteers. A nonprofit organization goes out and volunteers. Not responsible for same things. Next slide. What about exceptions? Not protected if you cause an increase in pollution activities that are unrelated to the work, deliberately or recklessly cause injury, or you violate the law. Same type of exceptions for the landowners. Any exceptions to protection? Okay, continuing. Additionally, participants are not protected if the project damages adjacent downstream waters and no notice is given. Basically, mirror images, dealer. There are protections for landowners and individuals. There are exceptions to those protections. Basically, mirror image. Yes. Act does not trump federal law. The Act provides protection under state law only does not apply. While Colorado agencies might be Department of Health as lead, might be DNR as lead, they might be cooperating agencies. We can write the bill any way we want. That'll probably be driven by the reactions we get from the Department of Health and DNR. Who wants to be the lead on this? Do you want to be cooperating? Do you want to both be mentioned the law or not? We don't know yet. While the agencies determine eligibility, the agencies do not have the authority to make legal rulings on who receives protections from liability. Let's assume that I have given notice to you as a downstream owner. You participated as a stakeholder. Nevertheless, you sued. Do the agencies resolve that battle? No. Who decides the issue? judge in the court of law, went back to court. Losing more of my stomach lining than what here I have. If a landowner or participant in the project is sued for injury or damage, they should. This is what I would say to my client. You've got to use, just like you would use a comfort letter from EPA, just like you would use a no further action letter from the State Department of Health, and you'd go to that judge and you'd say, listen, I got approval for this project, and here's the whole record of what we did over the last 5 years. It took us 3 years, 3 weeks to fix it, but it took us 5 years to get it. You bring that record in front of the judge, but only the judge is going to determine liability or not. How does anyone get protection? Only a project approved by the agencies. They'll develop a project proposal form. All they have to do is print from Pennsylvania's form. All they have to do is duplicate Pennsylvania's laws. Of course, Pennsylvania doesn't have the issues we do. What are these? A third of Colorado's federal land. Pennsylvania has 1.2 hectares that are federal land. We don't have coal issues in this regard here. They got coal issues. We don't have the money. They got snapper money all around us. They got buildings. Okay, so we're very different states, but in terms of regulations and reforms, you just take it wholesale and you tweak it. No, it's really easy for Watson to write this stuff and hand it to an agency and let it tweak it. Okay, each proposal must identify the project, distance land, describe the location, the environmental problems, status of work plan. Familiar? Yes. Agency will evaluate the proposal, determine if it's capable of reclaiming the land. Agencies look over your shoulder. They'll advise participants on any permits. First question from the Department of Health yesterday when we met with them. What about permits? This is not like Superfund. Superfund is a process statute. Exempts you from certain permits. This doesn't. This doesn't change that. You need an NPDES permit or a CPDS permit, Colorado Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit, for that water treatment plant. You're going to get it from the Department of Health. You need a DNR reclamation permit. You're going to get it from DNR. It just doesn't change that. Once the project is approved, the agencies maintain a permanent record of the participants, landowners, who will be protected under the law. Always start in individual. Pretty much. Go ahead. Before and after. It works. Go. Before and after. Really works. Go. This is Missouri Harmony Lake. Magnificent. Next. Eagle Mine. This is what it looks like before we got our act together into that. This is not me. I'm on the other side of the Taylor's tile, because I've just fallen down and I'm rolling down the hill. This is not a real picture from last month. Okay, go ahead. There you have it. New law. I want you to support it. I want you to critique it. I want you to say, Watson, you're crazy. I want you to say, Watson, we don't need it. We have so much money and we have so much cooperation with EPA. Mr. Cook has come to us and given us everything we ever needed. We don't need this law. We need this law. Okay.